Tim asked when she started getting dressed. When will we do it again? It won't work. This is the only time. It was wonderful, and we both felt it. It's as clear as day. How can you give up on this? You're absolutely right. Well, why? After all, our meeting is as much your idea as mine. Maybe even more. Let's say I've been stalking you for 6 months. 6 months? You've rejected me over and over again. But today was your idea. I didn't even try today. All I did was say, "Good morning, Corey. You look good today." And you said, "Then maybe you should book a room so we can have a really long lunch." I did it, and now I'm having the best lovemaking of my life. And you're saying never again. Why? Because I love my husband, that's why. I don't understand, Corey. You love your husband, but you just spent 3 hours with me. If it didn't stop your love, why can't it be repeated? I just needed what you gave me today. It will allow me to move on. I don't understand anything. Me too, she thought. Oh, she knew why she was with Tim, but she didn't understand how her life could have changed so much that she needed this. Corey met Talbot Kramer when he walked into the office where she worked to visit her boss, who was an old friend of his. She was immediately attracted to him. His gruff appearance, confident manner, and easy charm captivated. She didn't even think about it when he invited her to lunch. Dinner was followed by several other dates, and then one evening, she realized that she had found her soulmate and dragged him into her apartment. 3 months later, they were living together, and by the end of the year, they were married. In the future, she never lost the desire to be with him. And at times, even it seemed to her that she was strangling him, suppressing him, and squeezing him too much. But Talbot didn't seem to mind. In fact, looking back, he kind of took it for granted. Maybe if she had had slightly less engaged eyes, she would have noticed, and if she had, maybe things would have turned out differently. But Corey was deeply in love, happy with her life, and knew she would live happily ever after. Corey woke up abruptly as she and Tal were approaching their 8th wedding anniversary. Tal was leaving on one of his many business trips and was going to leave on their anniversary day. He had packed his things the night before, and they were sitting by the door. Corey was making breakfast in the kitchen when she heard the shower go off. She immediately went to her purse, took out an anniversary card and her gift, and hurried to his suitcase. Corey opened it and put the card and gift in one of the side pockets so that Tal would be surprised when he unpacked. Instead, she was surprised. There could be no mistake. Talbot dated other women during his business trips. She and Tal had agreed a long time ago that they didn't want children, so she took pills and used a diaphragm as additional insurance. Corey put the suitcase back in its place, put the card and gift back in her purse, and went back to making breakfast. When Tal left, she poured herself another cup of coffee, and then went outside to sit on the patio and look at the white clouds slowly floating across the blue sky, and cried. When the tears ran out, she looked back and tried to remember when she could have done something to turn Tal away from her, but nothing came to mind. Was it just on business trips, or did Tal cheat on her when he was at home? He did work late a lot and sometimes on weekends, but was it a real job? She didn't know, but she was going to find out. Corey was nervous, and that was understandable. She wasn't a secretive person by nature, and everything was unnatural for her, but how else was she going to find out what she wanted to know, what she needed to know? After all, what does she even know about surveillance? On TV and in the movies, it looked so simple. Just get behind someone, let a couple of cars get between you, and then follow them, right? It was the 3rd night of the week that Tal said he would be working late, and the first 2 times she sat outside his workplace and waited for him to come out, he apparently did leave work. Unless, of course, there was some slut lying on his desk in his office. On the 3rd night, he didn't stay late, left work at the usual time, and she followed him to the Shangri-La Motel. He knocked on the door of room 102, and the door was opened by a woman. Corey hoped and prayed that her fears turned out to be groundless, that Tal just got lost on the road and always returns home to her. But this hope was dashed by a red-haired girl standing in the doorway of room 102. Corey sat in the car and cried until there were tears, and then drove home with a broken heart. She sat in the dark living room and stared at the wall, knowing that her perfect life was over. And with that realization came anger. Anger was overwhelming, but it also forced me to look for a way out. She was angry with herself even for thinking that everything would be fine if he returned to her house after cheating. Cheating is cheating anyway, damn it, and it doesn't mean a damn thing if he goes home to her. Who else is going to wash his dirty socks and underwear? She gave him everything she could, and this vile bastard did this to her? Suddenly she knew what she had to do. She entered the office, picked up the phone, dialed a few numbers and said, "Hi, Daddy. I need your help." She looked at Tim, sitting on the edge of the bed and watching her get dressed. Her fingers hesitated, buttoning her blouse, and she suddenly said, "Oh shit, it's only one time. But why does it have to end right now?" She sat down on the edge of the bed and smiled at Tim. "I'm really sorry that this is the last time, but I want it to be remembered by both of us. I want to give you something I've never given my husband, and I won't give it to him." It was already midnight when she came home. Talbot was sitting on the couch in the living room, staring at the opposite wall. Without even looking at her, he said, "Where have you been? You didn't answer your phone." "I turned off the phone." "Why is that?" "So that it doesn't bother me." "Is there something you want to tell me?" "Yes, of course. I guess you could say that my coming home at such a late hour was my way of putting things in order." "What are you talking about? Explain." "Yes, of course, hubby dear. I will definitely explain." "I'll explain, but you won't like it. I'm going to get something, so don't leave." When she returned, she had a large envelope in her hands. She sat down opposite Tal. She looked him straight in the eye and said, "Talbot, you're a cheating asshole, and it really bothers me." He blushed and raised his hand to stop her, thinking about how to lie. "Save your breath, Talbot. I have all the necessary evidence." "It's your own fault you got caught, Talbot. How long has this been going on, Talbot? However, it doesn't matter. As soon as I found them, I began to wonder if you were cheating on me only during trips or did you do it at home. I was watching you one night when you said you were working late. Yes, I was on the other side of the street, enjoying the sight of a half-naked red-haired girl opening the door to room 102 and letting you in. That's why I hired a private investigator to follow you and find out what else you're doing. This is his report, Talbot, and it says that you were a very, very bad boy. Now it's your turn, Talbot. What do you say?" He stared at her in silence for a few seconds and then asked, "And now what?" "It's up to you, Talbot. First of all, listen to what I've already done. I met with a lawyer, discussed a lot with him, and learned a lot. For example, did you know that regardless of who the injured party is, the first party to file for divorce turns out to be the active party until the court makes a decision? This means that no matter who was cheating on whom, if you called a lawyer in the morning and filed for divorce, you could get a restraining order not to let me into the house until I find a lawyer and challenge it. So I had to hire a lawyer who would work first. So that's what I did, Talbot. Let's call it a preemptive strike. The documents are ready, and if I don't call the lawyer at 8:30 tomorrow morning, he will file the documents as soon as the court opens at 9. That means you'll be staying in a motel somewhere at this time tomorrow. You'll have to pay for the room with a credit card, because this afternoon I cleaned out the savings and checking accounts, emptied the safe, and cashed 6 certificates of deposit. It remains only to decide whether I will call the lawyer in the morning or not." "Well, what should I do?" "You're the one who brought us to this, Talbot. Haven't you thought about what would happen if I found out?" "Why did you do that, Talbot? Wasn't I a good wife? Didn't I love you enough? Am I not good enough in bed? Why, Talbot? Tell me why." He lowered his head and was silent for a long time, and then said, "It's not about what you did or didn't do, Corey. It's about me, who I am." "And what are you like?" "I'm weak, Corey. I'm weak and I'm giving in to temptation. I never intended to intentionally cheat on you, chase other women, but I could never say no to the women who seduce me. I have no idea why women rush at me, but they do, and when they do, I don't fight back. It has nothing to do with my love for you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and it would kill me if I lost you. Please, Corey, give me a chance to prove to you that you are the only one I love." "It's not that simple, Talbot. You hurt me, really hurt me, and I want to punish you for it. Punishing you is exactly what I've been thinking about for the last 2 weeks, and I finally decided to do it today. I plan to meet you tonight. I didn't know if you wanted to stay in our marriage or not, but if you really want to stay, I'm ready to punish you, make you pay the price for what you did to me. There are 2 things you have to do, Talbot. Do that, then I'll call the lawyer and tell him to tear up the papers, and we'll forget about it and try to rebuild our marriage. If you don't do this, My lawyer will file the documents first thing in the morning. What should I do? First, to return to my father the $2,800 that I borrowed from him to pay the lawyer and the private investigator who was following you. I need to hear from Dad no later than 8:15 that he got his money. How can I do this? You cleared all the accounts, didn't you? I don't care how you do it, Talbot. Get cash advances on your credit cards if necessary, but make sure it's done by 8:15. He chuckled. You call that punishment? True, but you might not like it this time. I spent 4 hours in a hotel room with one of the guys I work with. She looked at her watch. You have 2 minutes to decide, Talbot. 2 minutes to decide if you want to save our marriage or not. Are you ready? I have no choice. I can't let you go, so I have to do it. Then come here, Talbot. She was sitting at her desk looking through yesterday's private investigator reports when her father called her. Did he do it? All of this? Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. It really helped. Bye, Daddy. I love you. Talbot's call came a little earlier than she expected. I just got the papers, Corey. Why didn't you call a lawyer to stop it? Yes, Talbot. I didn't call. Why is that? I did what you wanted. I gave the money to your father. I know you had to step on your throat. Then why? You said it yourself, Tal. You're weak. You're weak, and I don't believe you won't do it again. And since I don't trust you, there's no point in continuing to live with you. Damn it, Zoar. After hanging up the phone, she looked across the room at Tim sitting at the table. She wondered what their plans were now.